I'm Steve Hand. Thanks for joining me today. As you know, I developed a series called Self-Improvement for Normal People. The first two videos involved an introduction and a review of the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Now, as a licensed psychologist and certified advanced alcohol and drug counselor, I've been trying to think about the most important concepts that I have reviewed in my years in practice, and I try to condense them and make them most practical for you to use to improve yourself. So the first session was an introduction. The second review was talking about the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, developing rational thinking skills, avoiding the use of the words should, must, and have to, which tend to cause people to be very upset. Instead, trying to use the words would like, want, prefer, wish would be much better words to use. Because if you are talking about something unpleasant or undesirable, those more mild words leave you in a state of less intense negative feelings. And you can deal with things better when you're less upset. Everybody gets upset sometimes, but you want to work on being less upset so you can think more clearly and make better decisions. Okay, so the reason that I'm talking about the normal curve is that maybe you haven't learned about it, maybe you haven't used it in your life, but I'll show you where this is important. First of all, we need to know about the normal curve in terms of research and understanding research. When we do experiments in psychology, we find out we use a lot of statistics, and we try to determine if those numbers that we get when we do experiments, if they're significant. So we have to take some level of math. Now, I'm not that great in math. When I went to high school, even pre-calculus, it was already above my head. Okay, but I do like statistics. It means keeping track of numbers, and even plotting them on a graph is kind of fun. All right, so psychologists have found that in measuring almost anything, that the majority of people fall about in the middle if you plotted their scores. For example, scores on a test, or the time it takes them to run a mile, or any length, any distance. A few people will fall at the very top, but most people fall about in the middle, and a few people fall in the very bottom. And that's the way it'll be for almost anything you're going to be measuring. Okay, so it's just the way life is. So let's say you're talking about an easy thing. Let's say a 100-yard dash in sports. Let's say in the Olympics, you get these guys and women who are super fast, but they train every day, and they've trained every day for years. So very few people do that, and they have exceptional speed. But most people fall about in the average range. Some people will be very slow. Okay, now these same sprinters probably are not going to be at the high range if you measure other things. Maybe in a few areas, but everybody basically falls within the average range on most things you measure. Okay, so you're not going to be a super sprinter and basketball player and professor and physicist and electrician. You can't do it all, because to get really good at something, you have to spend a lot of time in it. That's probably the reason I want to bring this up, is that we don't want to expect ourselves to know everything. I don't know anyone who knows everything. I don't know anyone who does everything well. It's okay to say you don't know. Practice that. I don't know. Okay? You'll feel better. You'll know that really most people don't have enough information. The other concept I'd like to talk about today is probability. The language that you use, the words probability, possibility, likelihood, these are adverbs. And if we think back way when we went to school in the elementary school or junior high, we learned about adverbs. Okay, and an adverb is a word that adds to a verb. He slowly climbed the mountain. So it's often a word ending in ly, how a person does something. And that's important in terms of frequency and probability. When I administer a psychological test and I advise people to read each statement very carefully, read every word, because some words are especially important, such as at times, never, always, usually, rarely. You want to really think about that, because the decisions you make in your life may depend on those words. What is the probability that I will be successful? Now, success is very dependent on how you define success. So that's really important to clearly define your goals and your view of success. It's your view of success that counts. But usually, your likelihood of success depends upon your abilities, your level of effort, and your opportunities. And if I had to pick one of those three as being the most important, I would say it's your effort. Okay? Now, some people are naturally born with better opportunities. You know how the stork delivers babies? The stork just kind of flies in the air and just kind of randomly tosses each baby into houses, into families down, and it's a crapshoot. It's just like, that is a matter of luck where you end up and where you're going to be spending the next 18 years of your life, and how your parents treat you, and it's so much out of your control. So some kids definitely have advantages over others, but that doesn't mean that with enough effort and ability and creating your own opportunities, it doesn't mean you can't be successful. Just a little more difficult. But I would say effort is the number one factor in terms of being able to achieve your goals. So, the other thing to think about is this. When I think about experiences in my life, and I think back and try to apply what I learned to new situations. I remember a time that when I was working at a mental health center, and a group of us psychologists and social workers and counselors got together, and we said to each other, hey, we do just as much as a psychiatrist. We can diagnose, we treat, we do counseling, but the psychiatrists make 2, 3, 4 times more than we do. So why don't we get together as a group and ask for a raise? So that's what we did. And I can remember after we presented our arguments, the psychiatrist came back and said, if you want to be paid like a psychiatrist, become a psychiatrist. And all of us kind of walked away disappointed. We thought it was kind of cold and unsympathetic, but in a way, looking back, he was right. If you see someone and you envy where they're at, or you're jealous of them, or you wish you were whoever in whatever position, well, think about how they got there. Think about how they got there. Um, Most psychiatrists work very hard. They go to pre-med, they take pre-med classes in college, then they go to medical school. And most people just choose not to do that. It's very difficult. They've earned the right to be a psychiatrist. And you can substitute the word engineer or lawyer or whatever profession and say they're there because they went through the correct steps and they put forth the effort to do that. They took advantage of opportunities. They saw how other people did it, so they did it. There's really no shortcut. Okay, so that's decisions that you make. So all of us, when we approach that psychiatrist, all of us decide, well, we're going to keep on being psychologists or social workers. And if we want to be paid more, then we'll do other things. And we could have gone on to be a psychiatrist, but none of us chose to do that. It's very difficult, very time consuming. So you can learn from other people. So the normal curve, what I want you to think about is this. Most of us have abilities in different areas, if we measured, that are about in the normal range. Some of us, and quite most of us actually, can do things better than other people in certain areas, so we're outside of the normal range. Like if someone asked me, if they said to me, Steve, we're going to give you unlimited amount of money to get as many supplies at Lowe's or Home Depot as you want, and all the tools you want, and we want you to build a house, and then we're going to test it. We'll give you a month to do it, but you're going to have to do it by yourself. Well, the big bad wolf could come and just, with one huff and puff, blow that house down, I'm sure, in one breath, because I don't know anything about building a house. And that's okay. That's okay. I'll leave it to the people who do that every day for years, and they've learned how to do that. So don't expect yourself to know everything, especially these days with technology we have and the amount of information we have. You can learn easily through YouTube videos, Google searches. You can learn a lot, but don't expect yourself to know everything. The smartest people are the ones who can say, I don't know. So think about those ideas. Also, in terms of communication, I want you to be aware of the language you use and how you use numbers in life and probabilities in making decisions. And I want you also to be in touch with me. Give your comments so that I could teach you a few things I've learned along the way in terms of your decision making. If you like this video, remember to click like and subscribe. And I look forward to talking to you again. In the meantime, read about self-improvement, look at my videos, and practice them in your everyday life. Let me know how it turns out.